It's called a promo,
Shut
kid,
your
and
mouth,
if you want to
John.
be the big dog, you're going to have to learn how to do it, so go ahead.
You ready? No! I said, are you ready?
That was good. Glad you finally decided to pull that giant stick out of your butt and have some fun for once in your life.
You're uneducated marks! You sit there on your phones tweeting out your opinions like they're worth a damn. Let me explain something to you people. You don't know shit!
And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's death.
Me too, bro. Me too. You know, Samantha Irvin quickly becoming in the conversation for greatest ring announcer of all time, and I'll stand by that statement. I'll take that statement to the bank. In that moment, I think her face, her voice, her emotions accurately describe what a lot of our emotions were, and that is just like overwhelmed and joyous from my perspective. That's how I felt. I've said it this morning, and I'll show the tweet on the show, as I'm going to show a lot of tweets from last night on the show this morning. I want to live in this moment forever. This journey has been something that is surreal, and from this perspective from a podcaster's perspective, I should say, from this perspective to have witnessed it and lived it vicariously through Cody Rhodes, it's just been amazing. And I'm gonna retell this story to my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids, and I'm gonna tell them about the story that got finished, and that's the story of Cody Rhodes. So that said, I'm kind of filibustering a little bit, I know. It's because we're a video only podcast, so I'm trying to get my video camera set up here and get video going and get rolling. It'd be a little easier if I had my co-host Dylan with me here today, but that's not a knock. He would be here if he could be here. It's a Monday morning. He's off doing his teaching gig. He's got a gig teaching. He talks about it sometimes. So teachers got to teach, but we got to talk about some wrestling. Let me get this camera set up. Here I am. You see me now. You don't see me now. As you can see, excuse me, very clearly here, filling in for Dylan today is Cardblade. I had to have some sort of company. So, Cardblade, good to go. He's good to go. He's ready. Guns up. Ready to break down some wrestling. And it's the morning after Mania. Of course, I'm excited for the Raw after WrestleMania. Is it your favorite episode of Raw of the year? I think it's mine. On the DVD screen today, though, I've got the 1000th episode of Raw playing. Random, I know, but yesterday I wanted to watch it, and we played a little game for Dylan to pick out of random, and he picked disc 2 of this set, so I didn't get to watch the 1000th episode of Raw. Now I'm getting to. I forgot how great it was. Daniel Bryan almost marries AJ Lee. Before I get into WrestleMania, here's the thing. I have 2 things to bring up today. One of them, WrestleMania Night 2, tearjerker. Excuse me. What jerked a little bit more tears out of me, though, was the excitement and ultimate letdown of what happened yesterday morning. And I think a lot of us fans, if you're like me, you see the Slammys and you're like, this is it. It's a part of your childhood. It's a part of WWE. It's an integral part of your childhood and of WWE. And so I saw the Slammys and I got excited. With how much shit we had going on, I was working, doing this show. I didn't get to watch it yesterday morning, but I got to watch it this morning, and it was a clusterfuck. And that's the word I'm going to use about 50 times throughout this segment is clusterfuck. If you woke up at 10:30 in the morning excited to watch this, I feel so sorry that that's the outcome of your Sunday morning, because it was not worth waking up for on Sunday morning. Wrestling in the Middle was worth waking up for on a Sunday morning. Let me start by saying it was hosted by Kathy Kelly and Big E with red carpet correspondent R-Truth. The formula for success was right there. The formula for success was fucking apparent, but for whatever reason, the ball got dropped or the assignment got missed, underproduced. This Slammys just could not fucking make it for the life of it. No matter how hard they tried for this Slammys to get over, it could not. And I tried to look at it as like it was laid back. It was just a clusterfuck. It was a cringy clusterfuck. Wade Barrett presented the first award for Entrance of the Year, and what immediately already had gotten me bothered at this was Dominic Mysterio was the only superstar in this category nominated that had the event next to him as pertaining to like what entrance he did. Most of them seemed to be at WrestleMania 39. Some were like SummerSlam, Money in the Bank. I think The Rock's was from Dallas and SmackDown, and if so, good job. But Dominic Mysterio's was the only one that had the specific event next to his name, and I was like, okay, so that's weird. And Cody Rhodes, of course, wins it. At that point, I just kind of questioned to myself, like, okay, are we just giving it out for like the best entrance period? But that said, they only cared about Dominic Mysterio's one entrance, so that like knocked that theory out. I don't understand that one. It bugged me. I hope next year, if first and foremost, if we make a better Slammys next year, because we're not doing the Slammys this way next year. Nah. If we're gonna do a better Slammys next year, we need to do a category specifically just for the WrestleMania 40 entrances. The WrestleMania 40 entrances were top tier. So, again, get into that later. He has nothing to say on it now. Presenting the second award was Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, and he presents the award for Match of the Year. Those words put together are already controversial, right? So, there was already going to be some eyebrows raised and some questions thrown and some statements made. But the nominees were Sammy versus Roman, which was fair. Charlotte versus Rhea at WrestleMania 39, also fair. Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, actually low-key kind of fair. Like, I'll stand by that, oddly enough. Asuka versus Charlotte versus Bianca at SummerSlam, and we'll leave that one in there. Chad Gable versus Gunther on the September 4th episode of Raw. Interesting, but fair. I would like to point out that next to none of those matches were on the Match of the Year nominees for End of the Year awards. So a little bit confusing there, and more so with how much back then at the End of the Year awards, not just in WWE, but here on our show in Wrestling in the Middle, with how much people complained and clamored that Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre versus Gunther at WrestleMania 39 should have been a Match of the Year candidate and probably was Match of the Year. It didn't make sense that it didn't make it into the Slammy nominations, especially for this being a fan-voted event. If it's a fan-voted event, why didn't it make it into the Slammys with how many fans have, like, bitched about that this whole entire time? So that was beyond me, and I wasn't the only person to make that complaint in this specific occasion. I know a lot of us have that complaint to make, but in this specific occasion, I was not the only one to make that complaint. You'll see what I mean in a second. Charlotte versus Rhea wins it. We take a minute to awkwardly figure out how to play the video acceptance speech. Even more awkwardly, we take an even longer minute to figure out how to introduce Charlotte Flair to come out live. And I wish I could say that the cringe stopped there, but 3 times as awkward was Charlotte Flair trying to leave and then finding out she's also presenting the next award for Breakout Superstar of the Year. Again, clusterfuck. She was terrible at it and cringy, but again, she presents Breakout Superstar of the Year, in which the nominees were Dragon Lee, Jey Uso, LA Knight, Pretty Deadly, and Tiffany Stratton. LA Knight wins it. Maybe in this juncture we can argue, okay, is it fan voted? Because fans love LA Knight, but Here's an argument I want to have. Let me get some water. You good? Here's an argument I want to have. Again, LA Knight's over with the fans. No doubt. No doubt. Jey Uso, I feel like, is equally, if not more, over with the fans right now and has been for this past year. The yeet movement is awry. We're all yeeting all over the place. So I felt like in terms of fan voting, okay, yes, in terms of being over, LA Knight could have an argument here, but in terms of consistency, which is something we always have to look at, Jey Uso should have won this category. He is consistent not only in having the best pay-per-view matches out of those people and being the most over with the fans, but having the most live event matches, dark matches, TV matches. Like, Jey Uso this past year has been nothing but consistent and over in doing so. So I would argue that he would win that award, but I mean, in retrospect, looking at the Slammys, I don't really care at that point anymore who's not winning awards as much as I care about why are the Slammys sucking so bad. There's my take of the evening. I say evening like it's not 10:30 in the morning. You'll have to excuse me. Not only is it hard to do this show seemingly by yourself because he ain't got shit to say, but I'm still trying to come off this roller coaster of emotions, so you'll have to excuse me. Booker T comes out to present NXT Superstar of the Year, and you think the morale gets raised there, but let's keep rolling. Carmelo Hayes, Dragunov, Lyra Valkyria, I liked that, Braun Breaker, and Tiffany Stratton. Those are the nominees, and those are all people that I would argue that would have been beat by Trick Williams. And I don't know if we want to have that argument or not, but Trick Williams would have won this had he been a nominee. Why wasn't he a nominee? Don't ask me. Tiffany Stratton wins it, accepts it in person, does a better job than Charlotte Flair, so shout out to you, Tiffany Stratton. I don't know how you did it, but on the fly, does a better job than Charlotte Flair. One of the Impractical Joker guys comes out to present Rivalry of the Year after that, and Roman versus Cody wins that. I don't really want to spend too much time there because I'm not an Impractical Jokers guy. In fact, controversial take, I don't think they're that funny. We then announce some random ass awards, and these aren't actual physical awards. Nobody actually won anything out of this other than just like some honorable mentions, and we do honorable mentions here. I don't know if you've heard back on the show. He mostly just sits up there on the wall and bullshits, but we do honorable mentions, so I get it. These were a bit off though. Fan Chant of the Year won by Mic Drop of the Year won by Paul Heyman. The Rizzy winner, which was a real thing, won by Seth Rollins. And I'm not even complaining. I like that one. Villain of the Year won by Dirty Dom. And then Trash Talker of the Year won by The Rock, which is kind of a cool award to be giving in 2024 to The Rock just for the sake of, like, The Rock been trash talking for some decades now. So, Dirty Dom comes out to present Faction of the Year. Now we're back to, like, actual awards, but gets booed. So instead, we bring out Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, our general managers of Raw and SmackDown, and the Judgment Day win this award, which isn't surprising by any means, but I kind of wonder, like, the Bloodline brought The Rock into their faction, and arguably, they had a lot of TV time, and they're well over. I still think Judgment Day winning is the right move, again, in terms of consistency, in terms of showing up every night and putting it all out there. But the Bloodline had an argument. So, I don't know. Let's keep on moving. Kayla Saxton and Byron Braxton, as R-Truth eloquently put it, they present the award for Social Star of the Year to Drew McIntyre in another terribly cringy way that Chelsea Green tries to save by being entertaining, but the Slammys were past saving at that point. And that's the thing. Not even Chelsea Green's entertaining ass could save that. So, Drew points out what I did earlier as far as that triple threat not being in Match of the Year, and that's what I was talking about a little bit ago. As far as me not being the only person to complain, was Drew McIntyre literally came out, accepted that award, and said, well, what the fuck? Why wasn't that match in there? Do with that what you will. New Day come out to present the next two awards. First one being Female Superstar of the Year. Nominees being Bayley, Becky, Bianca, Io Sky, and the obvious winner, Rhea Ripley. I just really like saying all those B names in concession like that, so let's run that back one time, and I'm gonna add Belair in there just to really maximize it. Okay, you ready? Bayley, Becky, Bianca, Belair, Io Sky, and the obvious winner, Rhea Ripley. Second one, of course, being Male Superstar of the Year. Nominees were Gunther, some YouTuber, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins. Come on, guys. Cody Rhodes wins this as well. So, we knew. OMG Moment of the Year and Return of the Year, won by the same guy for the same thing. I said it in the End of the Year awards. It won by a landslide. It didn't even need like semi-final voting. Was the Return of the Decade. So CM Punk winning that. I said Return of the Decade. So let's up the ante. Now that we're, more episodes in, it was the Return of the Century. You can't tell me you saw it coming. And the fact that they blatantly lied about it. And you know what? Now that's not even the truth. They didn't even lie about it. The fact of the matter is they didn't fucking know until like 3 days before that that's what they were doing. So people saying like, nope, CM Punk's not coming here. No way it's happening. That was true. That was the truth. Finding out this past week that was the truth and they didn't have a fucking clue that they were even going to do any of that until like 3 days prior. It's wrestling, guys. That's pro wrestling, guys. Speaking of pro wrestling, let me get my water again. And I'm not just going to grab my water. I want to grab this beauty over here. This is one of my favorites. Today on the show with me, I've brought my IWGP United Kingdom Championship. Why the United Kingdom Championship today? Well, I'm claiming my kingdom. I'm claiming my kingdom. That's the shirt I chose to finish my story in. But back to my beautiful belt here. Today's episode, sponsored by Triple B Belts. Cheap in price, not in quality. And I'll show the belt again just for that sake because I love this thing. It's beautiful. Triple B Belts sells their belts on eBay, Mercari, Etsy. And it's spelled out like Triple B Belts, like word association, not 3 B's altogether. That's copyright infringement. That's gimmick infringement too, maybe. I don't know. Max, go back to AEW. Miss you. Come home. Sorry, I didn't mean to dive into that. Today's episode is sponsored by Triple B Belts. We thank them for all they do. That said, family, guys, folks, let's get into Wrestlemania Night 2. Oh man, I had to take a deep breath there. Felt surreal. What was your favorite match of the night? He ain't got shit to say. Alright. Starting tweet. Let's show this tweet on the screen here. Before tonight starts. I mean this, guys. Before tonight starts, I want to say that this was the first road to WrestleMania that we as a show covered, and being in some of the arenas and following the Cody Rock story in depth, as well as the Swerve Strickland storyline and so many more. It's been the ride of a lifetime, and I can't stress this enough, guys. I truly mean that. You guys who joined in on this ride and became so supportive of this, I can't thank you enough. It's made being a wrestling fan just a little bit better, and I don't know how that was possible. So, you guys really do it for me, and this show really does it for me. I love it. WrestleMania Behind the Curtain coming Wednesday, and I'm fucking ready for this shit all the way. Are you kidding me? A backstage, real-life, in-depth look at this road to WrestleMania. Yes, please. Yes, please. Here's my thing. Sorry if you hear my stomach growling. It's a late morning. I'm hungry. Did not see Stephanie McMahon as the opener for fucking WrestleMania. Did you see Stephanie McMahon coming out as probable for how we were going to open WrestleMania Sunday? I sure as hell did not. That's how we open the show. Match-wise, though, we open the show with the World Heavyweight title match. And that's like, okay, not how the card was supposed to go, but I'll take it. Open the show with the World Heavyweight title match. No broken dreams, but that's alright. Both entrances were fucking dope. We need dope entrances at WrestleMania. We get them on this night. Drew McIntyre opens the show with an immediate Claymore. Soon as the bell rings, immediate Claymore, and that shock factor. sucked us all in immediately. That's what you need when you open a pay-per-view as big as WrestleMania. That shock factor. Not as bad as Sheamus in the 18-second World Heavyweight title win, but thank God that that's not what this was. Match continued to be a certain banger, and CM Punk commentary definitely played a factor in this. Definitely played a bit of a factor in it as far as like distractions and whatnot, but so many stomps, so many more claymores. Drew gets the win, and even Seth Rollins tells him after the match, like eye to eye, he fucking deserves it. Seth Rollins told him that because he believes in the World Heavyweight Championship. Made me a little teary-eyed, man. It did. Sorry, pulling my hair there. Made me a little teary-eyed, though. Drew celebrates by saying personal things to CM Punk and flexing on him, and CM Punk attacks. Here's the best part. Once again, I fucking called it. Damian Priest cashes in on Drew's moment, and here's the tweet. Again, sending out tweets, live tweeting during this event. I fucking called it. He really cashed in on Drew's moment. Here's something else cool about it, though. Here's another tweet I'll show by the Public Enemies podcast. Shout out to the Public Enemies podcast. Damian Priest is the first Puerto Rico world champion in WWE since Pedro Morales 50 years ago. And that's something that, didn't see coming. I've said it on this show before, too, and all over the internet. I'm a big Pedro Morales guy. He is, as far as wrestlers back in that era, he is one of my favorites. So that was a really cool fact for me to find out last night. More fun than that, though. Snoop Dogg on guest commentary for that 6-man street fight. Oh my gosh. And unfortunately, Bubba Ray was the special guest referee, and I get it. It's Philadelphia, it's Bubba Ray Dudley. I get it, but dude, straight to you, Bubba Ray, as someone who grew up loving you, why do you gotta be such a fucking dickbag, man? Why do you have to be such a fucking ass clown? It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for Bubba to be the man he is and me to have, cheered for him as much as I do. So, get this fucking hair out of my face. You can't take over while I'm trying to get hair out of my face, dude. What kind of fucking co-host is it? Dylan, please come back. Dylan, come back to Wrestling in the Middle. I know it's Monday and you're teaching, but Cardblade can't do a damn fucking thing. It's not worth a fuck. I'm not paying you for this, by the way. Alright. Before we get into the 6-man street fight, I gotta get something off my chest. At Karrion Adam Cole cooked me cross. I almost fucked it up. I won't fuck his name up like most people do, though. I'll say it every time correctly. Karrion Adam Cole cooked me cross. So, I don't care if you wear an ECW shirt to your Philly street fight and try to pander to us nostalgic extremists. You have the charisma of a stick of moldy cheese, and the only thing you're consistent at is overdoing it. I'm sick of the shtick. I'm sick of the shit. Be better or be banished back into irrelevancy in which you came from, because I can't fucking do this anymore. So, again, hated that Bubba was the ref, but Snoop Dogg on commentary in this match, that shit was hilarious. Here's a tweet I sent out. I need Snoop Dogg on commentary every week. That shit is hilarious. I might have been snooped up myself during the event. I can't stop saying hilarious. So I might have been laughing a little bit harder for other reasons. I digress. I'm glad that Bobby and the Hurt Profits got the win. The build was worth it in some senses. Although, again, Karrion Adam Cole cooked me cross. You heard what I said. Wasn't expecting a new AJ Styles theme. That's something we got that I didn't expect. Not sure how I feel about it exactly, but let's just keep moving on with our lives and not letting shit like that affect us. Also, why do I feel like AJ Styles keeps coming out dressing more and more like Batman each time we see him? Each time we see him, he gets a little bit more like Batman. LA Knight goes over in a pretty alright match, I'd say. That's how that one ends. I popped for Kevin Owens' entrance harder than I even did for Sammy's the night before. Going back to entrances here, I said on yesterday's episode that before Sammy came out, I was popping. I saw Kevin Owens and I screamed. I was like, this is it. This was even better than that. The interaction with Sammy, the ECW themes. I fucking popped hard during that entrance. The rest, though, had some issue to it. Another tweet I sent out. I would pull up video for this, but I don't feel comfortable sharing that video on my show. My show's a positive platform, so here's a tweet I sent out. Last I saw of that Speed guy, he was making remarks at a woman online saying she had no choice in a sexual confrontation against him, so I'm still kind of like, what the fuck? And I truly mean that, guys, because I'm kind of like out of touch with pop culture, and so I didn't know of this guy before like 2 weeks ago, and then I saw on the H3 podcast a video of him like telling a woman some pretty uncomfortable shit, screaming at her, and I was like, that's really fucking disgusting. And so then the next juncture for me to see him at being WrestleMania, I was pretty grossed out by that. That's a personal thing for me, I guess, but like, did not get it. And I wanted to show the video on the show today, but I don't feel comfortable showing that video on my show, being my show as a positive platform. So I just want to move on after that. Let's go to the next match. Women's title match. Chef's kiss. Bayley's entrance was fantastic. Match was a good one and lived up to the long build that it had up to it. It lived up to that build, though. Crowd sang to Bayley throughout the match like how they used to back in early NXT, and that was really cool. I couldn't tell at first what was going on. I was like, what are we singing? And then that's when I got online and read it and was like, oh yeah. And that was enough to will her as well. Bayley gets that win, and it was a well-deserved win, I would say. Surprised that we didn't see other Damage Control members get involved in this match at all, but not a huge complaint. As a wrestling fan, I like that we just had a good match. We didn't have to have interference, distractions. Everything was just told in the ring. And yeah, I would argue you could have told more to the story in the ring, but just let Bayley have her fucking moment, man. Claim your kingdom. Claim your fucking kingdom. Let's get into it now. I came here for a reason. I didn't mean to go so fast through some things, and I know I want to say this part, and I'll say it a little bit more in depth later, but my complaint on WrestleMania Saturday was it not being WrestleMania enough. WrestleMania Sunday was WrestleMania enough. So, main event promo, it gets going. It gets going before 9, so you know we're headed into a big one. Of course, Cody's entrance was fucking amazing. Shout out Brandy Rhodes. As soon as I saw her, I said, holy shit, Brandy's here. Roman's entrance, pretty epic in its own right, too. We gotta add that one in there. Biggest fight feel of all time. Like, literally the biggest fight feel of all time. For this match being as big as it was, I did my best to have my phone and any distractions as little as possible put off to the side. I didn't want to have my phone on me too much. I didn't want to be on the internet. The live tweets kind of slowed down for a little bit. Because it was living up to this great build, and I couldn't just let that go in vain and just, be on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. Couldn't just be doing that the whole time. Whenever this moment, in digesting it, I realized it's such a big moment. So, you had to know at some point, the match was going great. At some point, though, you had to know there was going to be interference, and it would have not made sense if there wasn't interference, and that's weird to say, but it wouldn't have made much sense had there not been interference. So I'm glad we had like a good foundation for the match before we started getting into that. But that's where I had to pick my phone up, man. The interference went a little different than I thought it would. Jimmy, okay, Jay, Solo definitely came to fuck it up, but John fucking Cena too. John fucking Cena. WrestleMania moment, brother. This is a WrestleMania moment, brother. Then the fucking Rock. Okay, the final boss. Makes sense. He was supposed to show up, right? Okay, but why at that point are we watching one of the best WrestleMania main events of all time? Here's the point. Here's the tweet. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting equally excited, getting back on this roller coaster. This is becoming the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time. I meant to say main event. My Twitter fingers were rolling too fast, I see. And then I said this tweet. The real final boss has showed up. Undertaker, of all people. And there's some speculation that this was supposed to be Stone Cold. It would have been cool if it was Stone Cold, but it wasn't Stone Cold. It was The Undertaker, so The real final boss showed up. The Undertaker came. That was that. Cody finishes the fucking story and got swept and overcame with emotion. We all fucking did. Here's another tweet. He really fucking did it. I'll ask again, and leave it in the comments, guys. Leave it in the comments. If you listen on Spotify, our main source, there's always a slot at the bottom of this page that says, how do you feel about this episode? Let me know what you think about Cody finishing the story. How did it make you feel? I need to know. YouTubers, leave it in the comments, please. Next tweet. This has to be one of, if not the greatest moment in pro wrestling history. Cheers. You've been pretty silent over there, dude. How did you feel about Cody's story being finished, that WrestleMania main event? Do you think it was the greatest of all time? I feel you, bro. I feel you. Next tweet. I mean specifically, and again, it's a fucked up tweet, but my Twitter fingers are going. I mean, this specifically has to be the greatest moment in pro wrestling history. And I stand by that one, man. When he handed that WWE title to his mom, and he's at that final moment, he finally did what he said he was going to do. When he took that WWE title, he said, and she held on to it, I said, that is the greatest moment in pro wrestling history. And if nothing on this show today went correctly, that had to, because I can't stress that enough, and I can sit here and contemplate what my favorite match is, who my favorite superstar is, who my favorite pro wrestler is. I can sit here and try to contemplate, what the greatest WrestleMania moment of all time is, but this trumps all of that for me, just for the fact of, he said he was going to do something impossible, and he fucking did it. And him handing his mom that title belt that she should have been handed decades ago by her husband Dusty Rhodes. The American Dream, it doesn't get better than that. That story needs to be told, and that story, like I said, I will tell my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids and my great-great-grandkids and my great-great-great-great-grandkids. I'll tell every motherfucker that will listen about Cody finishing the story. It's the most beautiful moment in wrestling history. So, asking Dylan's thoughts. I couldn't go the whole show without asking Dylan what he thought, so I asked him last night. Here's the text. Your thoughts about the main event, your thoughts about night 2 as a whole, and what was your favorite match and or moment? Dylan's response is, main event was perfect. Everything down to Seth ultimately being Roman's undoing. Peak storytelling. Night 2 as a whole was so good. Highlights other than the obvious are the Bayley-Io match and Bayley winning, and the hilariousness of Drew's obsession costing him. Favorite match overall might be the Night 2 main event, though, at least for the 2 Mania events. And I know what he means by that. He didn't give context right there as to what he means, but he is of the understanding, he is of the opinion, he is of the misunderstanding, I should have started with, that the triple threat for the North American title at Stand and Deliver, Obafemi, Wyatt, and Josh Briggs, outdoes the main event of WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. This week's poll on Spotify, again, shout out to our Spotify listeners. This week's poll, what match do you think was better? And I don't think that this will be a hard poll, because I'm sorry, Dylan, I love you, and I'm sorry that you're not here to defend yourself or explain why you think that. That triple threat match was good. It's not the main event of WrestleMania Night 2, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not, dude. It's not. All right. Final thoughts. I got my final thoughts wrote down. Ready? Hold on. Let me wet my whistle. Don't get any bright ideas and start reading my script. Mess my mouth a little bit. WrestleMania Night 2. 100%, of course, lived up to my challenge of stepping it up and feeling like a WrestleMania, and I stand by the statement that Cody Rhodes handing his mom the WWE title is the greatest moment in wrestling history. I stand by that 100%. Here's the next thing. I take back what I said all these months about the last year and Cody Rhodes losing last year being the wrong move and all for nothing. I've said it pretty explicitly, Roman Reigns' whole last year of his title reigns has been for nothing, pointless, irrelevant. Cody Rhodes should have won WrestleMania 39. I said all that shit. I take all of it back. The payoff was the best payoff, and I felt it as I'm sure you all felt it just as much. If you didn't, cool. Haters gonna hate. I love the ending to this story. I can't stress it enough. It's the greatest moment in pro wrestling history. The ending was so much bigger too when you find out that Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, and Nick Khan got Dusty Rhodes' watch back that he pawned to send Cody to acting school. I'll say it again. Haters gonna hate. I love the ending to this story. The fact that finding out the press conference after, not only did Cody finish the story and win that WWE Championship, he got the watch back that his father sold. Dog. How do you have a better ending to the story than that? So, Cardblade, you're fired. You're going back on the wall. Dylan will come back next time and be a better co-host. But for today, thank you guys for joining me. Go in the comments and let me know how you feel about Cody finishing the story. How do you feel about WWE moving into the future? And also, what do you want to see out of Wrestling in the Middle going into Season 3? We're not there yet, but we're getting pretty damn close. Thank you for joining me today here on Wrestling in the Middle.